Chapter 12. The Pass in the Rain. Rain ran down the mountain pass in silver threads and brown channels. It found every low place, every weak edge, every old root under the path. Dry ground could hide hollows under dust and pretend cracked stone would hold. Rain stripped away the lie. Bram walked alone. No one had ordered him not to. That was different from permission, but it worked for now. The pass rose. Behind the wounded camp in 3 broken shells. Lower road, where carts could still crawl if the wheels hated themselves. Middle slope, all scrub pine and loose stone. Upper notch, narrow enough that 2 wagons could not pass without one learning to fly. Beyond it lay the supply road Orin needed to hold. Behind it lay villages Bram did not know, and one village he did. He carried the axe in his right hand and Elira's last correction in his body. He settled his weight through his knees, until his boots found the slope instead of fighting it. He hated that the lesson still worked. He hated more that it would have pleased her. Rain slicked his hair to his forehead. His boots found mud, stone, then mud again. Every few steps he stopped and looked back, not at the view but at lines. Where could a caster stand and see? Where could a blade screen hold? Where would a prayer rhythm break when footing stole breath? Where would a staff need stable ground? Where would arrows come from if the enemy was not foolish? The pass was not a battlefield yet. It was dangerous timber. Wait here, split there, hidden rot under the clean bark. Cut wrong and the whole thing fell on your own people. Bram crouched beside a runoff channel and pushed his fingers into the mud. Grit. Clay. Small roots. Water moving underneath faster than the surface showed. At the ford, he had waited for a door. At the ridge, there had been none. Here, maybe a person could build one. He followed the water upward. It came from a shelf above the road where 3 leaning pines clung to the slope with exposed roots. Dead needles under them. Old storm damage. One trunk split lengthwise but still standing. The other 2 holding it like stubborn friends. Bram put his hand on the cracked trunk.
You'd fall if asked, right?
The tree did not argue. He stayed there longer than the tree needed. Rain ran down the split and into his sleeve. The bark under his palm was rough, alive in places, dead in others. Holding both at once. He thought of Marith uncurling Elira's fingers from her sword. Thought of the report line. Thought of Cyrel's calloused hand open in mud. Dead things still held weight. The thought came before he wanted it. He nearly stepped away from the tree as if it had spoken. Below, on the lower road, Dane's laugh carried thinly through rain. Too loud. A laugh used to make fear stand somewhere else. Joran answered, then coughed. Farther down, someone hammered a wagon brace back into shape. Camp work. Farther down, someone hammered a wagon brace back into shape. Camp work. Survival work praised. Until it failed. Bram looked from the leaning pines to the open bend below. An enemy caster coming up the pass would want that bend. It gave sight down the road and enough distance to punish a charge. The ground there looked firm from below. From above, Bram could see runoff cutting under it. Not enough to collapse by itself. Enough to be persuaded. Persuaded was a better word than trapped. It felt less like vengeance. He walked the upper shelf next. Loose stone under moss. A narrow deer trail behind scrub. A place where a blade screen could stand out of sight, until needed. A boulder cracked through the middle, one half tipped against the other. Not movable by strength. Movable, maybe, by wedge and rain and a person who understood waiting. His left side ached with every breath. His hand still remembered Cyril's throat under the axe beard. He had wanted to kill him, not in the clean way people lied about after battle. He had wanted the fall of the blade. Wanted the small wrong comfort of a body becoming proof that grief had weight. He had not done it. That did not make him good. It left him with rain, a pass, and an enemy coming. Spell lanes need places to stand, see, breathe, and hold focus. Alira's voice again. Bram took out his knife and cut a mark into a fallen branch. 1 notch for caster ground. 2 for bad footing. Crosscut for cover that would not hold under wide pressure. He moved through the pass marking without thinking about how cold his fingers were. By the time he reached the upper notch, the pass had become a kind of map that no clean table could hold. Not brilliant, not officer clever. Just true in the way wet bark was true. He found Oren's forward picket under a rock shelf and borrowed charcoal from a fire without explaining. The soldier on watch opened his mouth, saw Bram's face, and thought better of it. Bram drew on the underside of a split plank. Road, shelf, bend, pines, bad ground, sword hold, archer notch, runner path, deadfall. The plank made more sense than Harker's map. It showed where the rain wanted to go.
You planning to rebuild the mountain?
Bram looked up. Dane stood with his wrist bound and his face pale under freckles. Joran hovered behind him with a sack of nails over one shoulder.
No. Just teach you where to fall.
Dane swallowed.
That sounds worse.
It is.
Joran leaned over the plank.
That's the lower bend.
Yes.
Cards have to pass there.
Not if we move them before the fight.
Move them where?
Bram pointed with the charcoal. Joran's eyes sharpened. Supplies had their own maps in him.
That shelf can hold 2 wagons if we brace the wheels.
3, if one is empty.
3 if one is empty, and everyone lies about how wide it is.
Dane looked between them.
Are we bait?
Bram's hand stopped over the plank. He wanted to say no. The truth was uglier.
Maybe, but not stupid bait.
Dane made a face.
I had my heart set on stupid bait.
No one laughed properly. Footsteps came up the wet trail behind him. Controlled. Even. Annoyingly sure over bad ground. Saren Valacourt stopped at the edge of the rock shelf. Rain darkening her cloak, burned glove replaced with a plain bandage around her palm. Her eyes went to the plank, then to the pass, then to Bram.
Explain the grain of it.
Bram stared at her. She did not smile. She did not soften. She simply stood in the rain and waited, as if the woodcutter's map deserved more than mockery. So Bram explained. Badly at first. He pointed at marks and spoke, as if everyone could feel water under mud with the soles of their boots. He said the bend was rotten. Saren looked at the bend, then at him, and said nothing. That was worse than arguing. Arguing gave a person something to strike.
Run how?
Underneath?
Everything is underneath something.
Dane made a small noise that might have been a laugh if he had trusted the air. Bram ground the charcoal harder into the plank.
The top crust is holding while the carts keep packing it down. Water is cutting under the side. If a spell hits it from below or a horse line crosses too tight, it will slump.
How much?
Enough to eat a boot. Maybe a wheel.
Not enough to kill.
No.
Saren's eyes narrowed.
Then why mark it?
He could not reach a mage in open ground. Distance belonged to staff and prayer and light. Alera was dead. A man who could not close a lane needed the lane to close itself. Bram said the useful part.
A caster losing one boot loses rhythm. A sword screen stepping into bad ground loses its line. If they look down, they are not looking at us.
Seren studied him for a moment. Then she crouched beside the plank, ignoring the mud soaking the edge of her cloak.
A blade line can hold here.
She touched the narrow shelf above the bend.
2 swords forward, 1/2 step back. If they push, we yield left, not back.
Back is where the trap is.
Yes, which means someone will step there by fear if they have not practiced not doing it.
Bram had not thought of that. He hated that he had not thought of that. Seren looked toward Kale, who had followed her up the path and stood pretending not to listen.
Valakor forms train against panic footwork. Ashwick forms train against shield pressure. We can mark both into the mud.
Kale's chin lifted at the mention of his house style.
If the ground does not swallow the markings before dawn.
Then we cut them into branch stakes.
Bran looked at her hands. The bandage was already wet at the edge.
Can you fight?
The question came out rougher than he meant. Seren followed his glance.
Can you?
No one answered. Everyone knew the honest answer was only if needed. Joran tapped the plank with one dirty fingernail.
If I move supply carts here, they hide the lower rope from anyone on the road.
They also block retreat.
Only if you think carts move less than frightened men. They don't. Carts are more honest.
Dane leaned over the drawing.
Put me where I can shoot and run badly.
You're not running.
I said badly.
You have one working wrist.
Then I will shoot insultingly.
The talk should not have helped. It did. It fixed nothing. Alira stayed dead. The Ford stayed lost. The report mine stayed ink. But the plank filled with marks made by living hands. Each person brought a piece Brom did not have. Sword fear. Karch truth. Runner routes. One-handed shooting. Pride turned sideways, until it became useful. For the first time since the pasture, Brom understood something that did not feel like punishment. His axe was not the whole answer. It was the part he could be trusted with. Oren arrived as the rain hardened. He took in the plank, the marks, the soldiers crouched around it, and the way Seren was kneeling in mud without noticing.
Who authorized this?
No one answered. Joran slowly lifted one hand. Dane grabbed his sleeve and pulled it down. Oren's mouth twitched once. Not a smile. The ghost of one passing through hostile country.
Show me where men die if we do this badly.
That was how Bram knew he was listening. By afternoon, half the squad hated Bram's plan. That was better than all of them ignoring it.
Lift from the low side.
Kale Rusk stared at the pine trunk, as if personal dignity might move it.
I'm lifting from the low side.
You're standing on the low side. You're lifting like the tree cares about your family.
Dane barked a laugh and dropped his end of the branch. Kale's eyes cut to him.
Sorry.
Dane said, not sounding sorry.
Wrist slipped.
Your wrist is not on that side.
Sympathy slip.
Both of you.
They stopped. She was not warm. Since Alira's death, Seren had become quieter and sharper at the same time, like a blade honed too thin. But she had stepped into the work line and taken hold of ropes with her unburned hand, and noble names became harder to wave around while hauling wet timber with everyone else. Bram pointed with the axe haft.
We don't need it far. We need it wanting to go. Wedge there, rope there. Cut that root only when I say.
Only when you say.
Kale repeated. Bram heard the question inside it. Who made you captain of trees? He did not answer. The answer was nobody, and nobody was not helpful. The pass had become labor. That made it real. Joran moved wagons onto the shelf with a kind of terrified genius, bribing mule handlers with half rations of dried apple and insults tailored to each animal. Marith set blade positions along the upper scrub, cool voice naming angles where sword users could catch narrow spells without standing in the obvious lane. Saren checked each place and corrected 2 of them. Kale argued until she raised one eyebrow and he discovered silence. Dane carried rope one-handed and complained enough for 2. Bram worked until the world narrowed to wet fiber and pressure. 3 leaning pines above the lower bend. 1 cracked boulder near the notch. 2 cart shields buried at angles under mud to catch and throw spell glare wrong if the rain held. Brush cut and replanted where sight lines needed to lie. Flat stones turned slick side up in the place an enemy caster would want to stand. None of it would stop magic. It might make magic work harder. That had to be enough until it was not.
This root,
Bram crouched beside him.
No, that one holds the whole shelf.
it looks dead.
It is dead. It's also wedged under live roots. Dead things still hold weight.
The words came out before he knew what they were. Dane stopped coiling rope. Saren looked away first. Bram put his axe blade against the smaller root beside it.
This one.
Kale watched the angle.
If we cut that, the trunk shifts toward the road.
If we cut it now, yes.
And later?
Later, the rain will have taken more underneath. The rope will hold just enough. Then, when the enemy caster steps onto the bend and everyone thinks the trunk is cover, we let it drop behind him.
Behind him?
People run from what falls in front. They trip over what falls behind.
Kale studied him for a long moment.
That is an ugly thought.
It's an ugly tree.
No, I mean it as a compliment.
Bram did not know what to do with that, so he checked the route again. At the lower bend, Joran nearly lost a wagon when the brace slipped. Bram heard the shout and ran. Boots sliding, axe in hand. He arrived to find Saren already there, shoulder under the side rail, face white with effort.
Wheel.
Bram drove the axe half through the spokes and levered down. Joran shoved a stone block under the rim. Dane, against all good sense, threw his body against the wagon bed and yelled.
Stay, you overfed coffin!
The wagon stayed. For a breath, everyone stood in rain, breathing hard. Then Joran said,
Coffin?
It was all I had.
Saren looked at Bram.
Your brace would have broken if the stone had not been ready.
Yes,
You saw that?
I knew it might.
But you did it anyway.
You were under the wagon.
Something moved in her face, not softness. Recalculation. Kale arrived at a run.
Signal below.
Everyone turned. At the far foot of the pass, a small flame bloomed blue-white through rain. Then another farther back. Enemy signals, low and patient. The work line went still. Dane swallowed.
Are we ready?
No one answered fast enough. Bram looked at the pines, the runoff, the carts, the slick stones, the sword positions, the places where nothing would hold if fear made hands stupid. He wanted Elira there so badly that for half a breath he saw where she would stand, not beside him, not in front, but where her sword could protect the lesson and the boy both. She was not there. Marith came up the road carrying Elira's sword, not wearing it, carrying it wrapped in oiled cloth, both hands beneath the bundle, as if the blade had become a body again. Conversation thinned along the work line. Even Dane stopped pretending not to be afraid. Marith stopped in front of Bram.
It should be on the line.
Bram looked at the wrapped sword and felt the pass tilt under him.
I can't use it.
I did not offer it to you.
Saren stepped forward. For once she did not look certain. Marith held the bundle out to her.
Thorn trusted your blade work.
Saren's bandaged hand hovered above the cloth.
She argued with me constantly.
Yes.
That is not the same thing.
Among our people, it is sometimes closer.
Saren took the sword. No ceremony. No music. Just rain on cloth and a noble girl swallowing something too large for her throat. She unwrapped the hilt enough to see the guard, then bowed her head once. Brahm looked away. The moment was not his, and looking hurt. When Saren belted Alira's sword beside her own, the work line stood differently. Not braver, more accountable. Saren stepped onto a wagon tongue so the squad could see her.
Listen.
Voices quieted, even Dane.
This is not luck. It is not commoner's instinct. It is not noble doctrine either. It is field discipline of a kind most of us were not trained to see.
Her eyes found Bram's for one sharp instant.
So Wizard see it now. Sword line holds only where marked. Runners use Hale's path. No one cuts a rope just for looking important in a panic. If Alder says the ground is lying, believe him before it confesses.
Bram's throat tightened in a way he did not have time for.
And if the plan fails?
Saren stepped down from the wagon tongue.
Then we fail while doing something true.
It was not comfort. It was better than comfort. The blue-white signal below the pass burned brighter. Bram took his axe and went to the first rope. Preparations were not done. The enemy was coming anyway. They worked into the dark. The enemy did not care whether preparations were finished. Torchlight made the pass stranger. Ropes became black lines. Wet stones flashed like eyes. The leaning pines groaned whenever the wind came down from the notch, and every groan made 3 people look up, as if the trap might lose patience and spend itself early. Bram moved from station to station with charcoal on his fingers and mud to his hips.
Not that knot?
He told Dane.
There are 6 knots?
The stupid one.
You'll need to narrow it down.
The one that slips when wet.
Dane looked personally offended by the rope.
That describes 3 of them.
Then stop tying 3 stupid knots.
Joran, who had been carrying pegs in his teeth, made a choking sound that might have been laughter or an attempt not to swallow hardware. Joran crawled under a wagon brace with a hammer between his teeth and emerged looking like the mountain had chewed him first.
If this cart survives tomorrow, I'm naming it after myself.
It'll be insulted.
Kale carried stones to the false footing near the lower bend, until his sword hand cramped. He never complained. That made Dane complain on his behalf, which annoyed Kale enough to keep moving.
Nobles have servants for this,
Dane said, loud enough for 3 nobles to hear. Kale dropped a stone exactly where Bram had marked it.
My house has debts. We have 1 servant and she terrifies my father.
Dane blinked.
That was not the answer I wanted.
I apologize for failing your prejudice.
See, that's noble talk. You can still do it while carrying rocks.
Kale looked down at his mud-black gloves, then at the load of stones waiting beside Bram's stake.
Apparently,
the exchange went no further, but Kale stayed with the common work party after his own hands began to shake. Bram noticed. He noticed useful strain now. A man could work past tired and still be strong. He could also work past useful and become a danger to the task.
Switch.
Kale frowned.
I'm fine.
You're dropping stones with your sword fingers.
I said I'm fine.
Saren appeared beside him like a correction given human shape.
He said switch.
Kale's pride rose visibly. Then it met Saren's expression and thought better of dying there. He traded places with Joran at the wagon brace. That mattered too. Kale did not obey Bram. Saren made it clear that Bram's kind of knowledge could command the moment without becoming a joke. The soldiers watching saw it. Bram saw them see it. Saren walked the blade marks again and again. Alira's sword hung beside her own now. It changed the way she moved, not heavier exactly, but aware of another measure at her side. Once, Bram saw her touch the second hilt, before correcting a marker by 2 finger widths.
That one wrong?
No. almost wrong.
There's a difference?
There is tomorrow.
That was fair enough. She made the sword line drill it in darkness. No speeches. No noble display. Just 4 soldiers with steel in hand, stepping from stake to stake, until their boots knew where not to go. Brahm had thought sword work was mostly the bright part. The cut, the parry, the clean ring that made village children stare at fairground duelists. This was uglier and harder.
Again.
The line yielded left.
Too wide. Again.
They yielded left.
Too slow. Again.
One man cursed under his breath. Seren heard him and made no sign except to step into the line herself. Her blade moved once, barely visible in torchlight, and the man's sword met it exactly where it needed to be. Sparks snapped and vanished.
Magic doesn't care that you're tired. Steel cannot afford to care first.
They went again. Brahm watched the pattern and felt an unwilling respect settle beside his grief. A sword line could do things his axe could not. Catch a narrow spell. Share pressure across wrists and guards. Make one person's timing into another person's survival. It was not useless grace. It was craft sharpened, until it looked graceful from far away. Alira had known that. He had known less than he thought. When the line finally broke for water, Seren came to the plank and marked one more place above the bend.
If their lead blade is good, he will see this as a forced yield.
It is.
Then he will mistrust it.
Brahm looked at the mark again. Seren took the charcoal and drew a second, poorer root beside it.
Give him a better-looking mistake.
A false opening.
A proud opening. Those work more often.
Brahm thought of Sarn. Thought of Litharian and clean white, far enough away that other people paid for his certainty.
Can you make it look like we panicked?
Seren's face did not change, but something tired moved behind her eyes.
Everyone can make panic. Making believable panic is training.
Then train them.
She nodded once and went back to the line. Near midnight, Marith found Brahm at the upper shelf where he was packing mud around a buried shield.
You are building lies.
He looked up.
That a complaint?
An observation.
The shield catches light if the rain holds. Looks like open mud until someone spends a spell there.
A lie.
Yes.
Marith crouched, careful of her bound shoulder.
Thorn would have approved.
Bram's hands stopped in the mud. Marith did not soften the words by looking away.
She liked honest tools used dishonestly against arrogant people.
The laugh that came out of him hurt.
She never said that.
Not to you.
For a moment, the dark pass held 3 things at once: work, grief, and the strange comfort of learning that Alira had been larger in other people's memories too. Marith pressed the mud over the shield edge with her good hand.
Don't spend her tomorrow.
Bram swallowed hard.
What?
Don't make a reckless choice and call it honoring her.
The words landed harder without anger.
I'm trying not to.
Try with more precision.
Then she stood and left him with the buried shield and a lesson that sounded so much like Alira, he had to close his eyes. When he opened them, Dane was watching from the rope line.
You crying?
Mud in my eye.
Very emotional mud here.
Tie the stupid knot.
With feeling.
They worked until the torches burned low and the pass smelled of wet hemp, split pine, iron, and men too tired to pretend they were not afraid. Before dawn, Brahm checked the first rope one last time. It held. For now.